Hello everyone. There are some more of you here. Thanks for joining me. Anyway, carrying on from my tradition of defending women who definitely don't need me to, I'm talking about Book, who was up for elimination in BFDIA 7. Spoiler alert. I should have said that earlier. She is up for elimination in BFDIA 7, but it's been out since a week. You should have already known that. I swear I'm not doing that on purpose either. Pin was up for elimination last time and I made a video about her. I'm not doing this again. Unless Golfball team is up for elimination. Anyways, she was kind of battling for her life in the beginning of the voting session, which, an actual spoiler alert here for the votes, she barely ended up escaping her elimination. I believe it's Fiery, but I'll need to double check. Of course, I needed to jump into action to make people see the truth about Book, so that next time we can all band together and get her the most likes, because she deserves it, guys, okay? Out of my top 3, Book is my 4th favorite overall in the whole series. That's a weird sentence. I don't know why I wrote it like that. Book is my 4th favorite. She's this awkward, snarky character that, from what is shown, is deeply insecure. And Book used to be a very disliked character. I remember, back in 2018, she was at the bottom of a lot of people's tier lists, because she went through what I can only describe as character regression in BFB, which is by all means not a bad thing. I think everyone needs a little villain arc, but, that's just what it was. She did go through regression, and then progression. But I feel like people only really remember the bad thing she did without really remembering why she felt the need to get aggressive towards her team, or why she even had her little breakdown in the first place. And side note, this script is kind of taking me a while to write, because I'm genuinely getting upset watching all of Book's scenes. Just something about her arc makes me feel terrible, but that's just how it goes. This object show shit is serious. We truck on, we persevere. So, regarding BFDIA and IDFB, since I'm starting off with them, I'm not really going to spend too much time on them, since it's not really what I want to talk about, but it is where Book technically gets her start. She's an alternate for Match, Bubble, Pencil, and Ruby's alliance, which becomes Free Smart. But she's just kind of a doormat throughout that whole experience. BFDI isn't over, but from the episodes that are available to us, she's a doormat. She and Ice Cube are just okay with still sticking by Free Smart, despite the fact that they are actively being excluded from things and treated the way that Pencil and Match kind of just treated everyone who weren't each other. They were definitely, not held in the highest regard. And this is just kind of something that really is the background of what Book goes through in BFB. She is using this as an example for something that she doesn't want in a team. She doesn't want something with an unhealthy power imbalance. Match and Pencil were basically matriarchs of their entire team, and we can see that this type of leadership just isn't healthy. Bubble even says this later on. That type of leadership just isn't healthy, and it's going to hurt people every time, which is why Book was seeking for something that wasn't like that in BFB, and which is what she ultimately found with Ice Cube and Team Bleh. Team Bleh. That's kind of where I'm closing BFDA for now, because anything else other than that isn't really important, and it's not finished, so anything else that I can gather from it, it's just not relevant. But anyways, from BFDIA, we can assume that Book just sort of woke up and saw the light and realized that Free Smart as a team was something that she just wasn't interested in participating in. She didn't want to be a part of a toxic, unhealthy environment, and good for Book, I always love that little scene where she rejects Pencil and Match from being into their alliance, because she realizes that it just isn't good for her or Ice Cube. I don't know. I just admire that. She kind of just grows a spine, a book spine. But yeah, BFB comes. She doesn't want to associate with Match or Free Smart anymore. She wants to build an environment that just wasn't like the one that she had before for her and Ice Cube. And I'll get into her relationship with Ice Cube later, but you know, for now they're friends, you know. So the real coveted book arc is kickstarted in BFB, and it's with Taco. I'm going to recap here just to catch you guys up to speed, but I'll try to make it as brief as I can. So in BFB 3, when the challenge is to break contestants out of Jawbreakers, Taco remains trapped, so her entire team just believes that she's left since she's not out by the following episode, which is the Swing Set one. This is kind of where Book adopts the idea that she went rogue because she got sick of her team going too slow. When she breaks out at the end of BFB 4, her team is agitated that she came back right after they won conveniently. This attitude towards Taco persists specifically in BFB 4 and in BFB 6, where when she leaves her team again, it's revealed she really dipped just to help her team out and get the Twinkle back on Earth. It's really only in BFB 12 when the rest of her team kind of backs off since Taco helped them in episode 6, but notably not Book. When Taco is revealed to be the imposter, Book throws what I can only describe as a temper tantrum. And this all kind of crescendos in BFB 13, where Book essentially blows up at her team and cements the rift between her and Ice Cube, the very person that she was trying to protect, as she switches teams as what's kind of, you know, nearing the end of BFB Part 1. So taking a break from a lot of exposition that I dumped, like anyone who's watching this hasn't watched BFB. I put BRB. Okay. Let's look at Book's actions here. Like Gady says later on, Book went from this rational, level-headed individual to someone who's overreacting and irrational, a force on her team that's actively causing problems. Despite what I said about Book being one of my favorites, I can without a doubt say that she's in the wrong here. Without discussing her intentions that I'll touch upon, she absolutely jumps the gun and antagonizes Taco even after the rest of her team comes to their senses. And furthermore, she antagonizes the rest of her team afterwards. They, especially Taco, have a right to be put off by her. In any situation, the behavior that Book isn't exhibiting, it really isn't okay. And now that that's out of the way, I'm going to put on my Book apologist cap and tell you why this blow-up just, I guess, occurred in the first place. Before I get into Pin's little conversation with her, I want to get a few things out of the way. Book being not justified in her actions, but having intentions that aren't inherently malicious are two sentiments that can coexist at once. And that's kind of what's happening here. She didn't act this way out of spite, but more so of a misguided belief that what she was doing was truly right. In her strive to stand up for herself and Ice Cube, she unintentionally created an environment that was pretty bad for the rest of her team, and soured her relationships with characters like Gady, Lollipop, and Saw, which is, you know, that's interesting to me. She wasn't trying to do this. She wasn't really trying to make herself look like an overreacting weirdo or a flighty idiot who just blew up at any sign of, like, abandonment. She truly believed that she's in the right, and the rest of her team was just not. That she was being treated like she was back in Free Smart, and she was just trying to protect herself and Ice Cube. But now let's get back to BFB. Pin, and by the way, I literally love that it's Pin having this conversation with her. Literally genius. Pin approaches Book and kind of gets her to really open up about her behavior. And in this conversation, we can gain a couple of things. The first is that Book, in some way or another, was unhappy with how Free Smart was being run and how they treated others, but we already know this. And she realizes this sometime after BFDIA and before BFB, and also realizes that she doesn't want to associate with them ever again. She wanted to create a safe environment for Ice Cube, which was her number one priority. Secondly, she understands and knows that the conflict within her team stems from her. And what it took for her to realize this was Ice Cube not wanting to be a part of their team anymore. A team that was meant to be an escape from Free Smart. Unknowingly, Book seemed to become the very thing that she was trying to get away from, which is an imposing force on her team like Match and Pencil were. Which, it's crazy. In her quest to essentially stand up for herself and her friend, she veered more into the style of Free Smart than she really intended to. I'm not sure if this was purposeful, but if it is, it's incredibly interesting. I keep saying that. Everything's interesting. Going to BFB 14 now, Book is trying to make things right. She dies. She dies. She saves Taco and Ice Cube from the lava and subsequently dies horribly. There's also a scene in BFB 15, which is the episode that follows, that makes me feel... It makes me upset. It makes me feel bad. It's when Gaty realizes that their team is missing Book, and they all have, like, upset reactions about it. Her own team just doesn't want to be around her. I can't stress enough how terrible this makes me feel. But though this was Book's own fault that this happened, the fact that nobody really wanted to bring her back is... And side note, very interesting that in Ice Cube's Happy Thought, she associates Book with Free Smart. I just thought I'd point that out. But anyways, I was interested in seeing where this went, but, you know... Split tangent here, literally. Everyone and their mama knows about the BFB split at this point. My feelings are satiated, no matter how angry 16-year-old me was at them separating. Knowing what I know now, it was for the best. That being said, it's kind of sad to talk about this plot without mentioning that it was pretty much cut short after BFB 16. The end of an era. Lollipop and Taco left. And also Teardrop, who was on Team Blit, which I keep forgetting because I don't think Book did anything particularly egregious to her. But she's also in Teapot, so it doesn't count. But anyway, they left without Book having a proper chance to apologize. And while I'm here, can I talk about Taco and Book's final scene?
You really want that BFB, huh?
Well, yeah, but I don't want to abandon...
It's okay. I'm not gonna force you to stay with us. You can tell us all about it when the gang's back together.
Why did Taco just walk away wordlessly? You wanted to tell her something in BFB 15. You don't want to say something now, girl? What gives me hope is Book's last line. So please, oh please, BFDI writers, bring Taco back to T-Bot. Bring all of the post-split contestants back. But mainly Taco, I just to spectate or reunite, like, I need this. I need them to talk again. But yeah, Teapot now, which is where my feelings get kind of skewed. Teapot won, they're choosing teams, and Book gets rejected by her former team members and Ice Cube. Now, I'm going to say that Gaty and Saw and Ice Cube were completely within their own right to not want to be near her. I brought the vibes down. I don't know why I wrote that. It's not like she was just emitting rancid vibes and they're like, nah, man, we can't be around you. She brought the environment down. That's what I meant to say. And if they were uncomfortable around her, it's fine. They have every right to be. They have every right to split ties with her. But it also makes me feel bad because Book genuinely thought she was doing the right thing. She wasn't cruel out of malicious intent. She just wanted to create a better environment for her friend. And you know, watching these scenes back, Book also never really apologized for her outbursts towards them, or like smothering Ice Cube, which she could have done. Unless distancing herself is a form of apologizing, which I don't know how I feel about that, because Teapot gives us a divergent book, a book that's going too far in the opposite direction in comparison to her actions in BFB. And this characterization bothers me irrationally. Book seems eerily similar to her personality in BFDIA when she was under Free Smart's thumb. She seems like a shell of her former self. She's meeker and flightier in all of the worst ways. Bommy freaks out on her in Teapot too, and she does nothing. She's talked over in Yoil Chess in, Teapot 4, and does nothing. I'm left desperately wanting to scream at these characters and tell them that Book learned the wrong lesson from her endeavor. I hope that this was done on purpose, and there's a planned arc for Book to realize she needs to find a middle ground in being assertive and being a pushover, because if this is all Book is left to, it makes me unbelievably upset. Just a quick addendum here while I'm editing. I just wanted to add that we've really only seen Book at her best and her highest points. Not that often. I believe maybe only in the beginning and a couple points throughout BFB, she's kind of been at her most, confident. Yes, she's awkward, she's fumbling, she's weird, but she does all of it with confidence. She's not someone who veers too much in the hot-headed, irrational direction like she did in BFB, but she's also not someone who takes a bunch of things, just because, they're a doormat. Not to mention, Book has no friends at this point. Gady and Saw don't want to associate with her anymore. Ice Cube's gone. She doesn't really have anyone close to her. The best I can really, get is Price Tag. She seems to be on good terms with them at least. The fact that I'm having trouble remembering which people Book has friends, is being friendly towards, and they're friendly towards her is crazy. And as much as I'm on board for a Pillow and Book friendship, this is a tangent, as much as I'm on board for a Pillow and Book friendship, it's not there at this point. But we can keep hoping for it. I think it would be thematic for Book to have someone who can protect her in the same way that she was protecting Ice Cube. And speaking of which, Ice Cube tangent, in Book's character biography, one of the lines is, Book and Ice Cube have formed what Book believes is an inseparable bond, as Book always protects Ice Cube. I don't think I need to say anything, but I will because it's my video. It's pretty sad and pretty telling that the inseparable bond that Book believes she has with Ice Cube only really exists in her own mind. And I want to reiterate, even though I feel bad for Book, since a one-sided friendship is something I personally never want to be caught up in, Ice Cube didn't need to necessarily stand with how smothering Book was being. Book and Ice Cube's relationship is, well, I don't want to say unhealthy, but there's definitely an imbalance there. I think unconsciously, Book acts more like an overbearing mother towards Ice Cube, more than like a friend on her level. It's pretty ironic that Book harbored another unhealthy environment for Ice Cube and BFB, which is exactly what she was trying to avoid by distancing them with Free Shart. I hope, at the very least, that Ice Cube and Book can reconnect in some way. If their relationship was inherently imbalanced, I don't need them to come back as besties or even friends. I just want them to end on good terms, because Book needs a win. She needs a win at this point. You can't tell me she doesn't. I mean, you can. I just won't agree with you. She needs a break. Give her a break. This time around, it's definitely a lot more difficult to try to justify. Well, I wasn't really justifying. I was just kind of explaining the intent behind them. But it's kind of hard to defend Book's actions more than it was to defend Pin's actions in Teapot. Pin didn't do anything that was terrible. She just got, weird about cheating. Book was hurting people. She was hurting others. She was hurting her team, causing inner turmoil. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's easy to forget why it was she did this. Nothing that she did was justified to any extent. She was just doing what she believed was right at the time, and she hasn't really made up for what she did yet, because Taco's gone, which is the person that she hurt the most. Lollipop's gone, who she also snapped at. Gady and Saw and Ice Cube are in other teams, and she hasn't really had a chance to discuss anything with them yet. And at its core, I think Book having a fresh start is good. I think she needs to get new friends. But in Teapot 7, which is where we are right now, by the time I'm recording this, she doesn't have any yet. She doesn't have any new friends. She's part of a team that's not bad, that's not terrible to her. But we can also see in Teapot that she's kind of shrank into herself, which is something that is inherently, it makes me uncomfortable to see her like this. I hope that, like I said before, they're going to address this. Book is going to, in some way or another, learn that she shouldn't be going too extreme in either direction. She shouldn't be snapping at people for being unfair, for abandoning her, but she also shouldn't be taking it lying down. And, for a conclusion, here's what I'm hoping for. This is kind of getting a little off. This is going to be my tangent of what I hope Teapot does. First of all, I kind of want Book to have a talk with Pin again. I want them to maybe address Pin's whole cheating situation. I think it would be a nice callback to BFB to have Book be the one to sit down and talk about it, since, also now, not to talk about Pin in a Book video, but we haven't really, we don't really know Pin's motivations for her outbursts. So I hope that we can clear that up so I don't have to keep seeing things like Pin's character being ruined, knowing I have to take the moral high ground because these are just children and I can't be arguing with children because I'm 20 years old. And I also hope that Book gets a friend. I want her to have a bestie. I want someone to look out for her, and I'm looking at Pillow to be that someone. Pillow, as it stands, she's kind of heartless, and that's her whole thing. She's psychotic. She likes killing people. And, I think Book can be the one to break through. I think Book can be the one to, have Pillow have a soft spot, ironically, because she's a pillow. I want her to have a soft spot for Book. I want her to protect Book in the same way that Book thought she was protecting Ice Cube, because at the end of the day, I think that's what Book really needs. She needs someone to look out for her. She needs someone to, have her back. And I think that's what she deserves at this point. And talking about Book so much, I kind of remember just how much I really like her. Despite her faults, she's a pretty solid character. And watching all these scenes with Book, even though it makes me feel bad for her, it makes me realize that her place as 4th favorite overall, it's justified. She deserves it. She deserves to be 4th place. I might have to bump her up because I like her to 3rd, sorry, Tennis Ball. Maybe I'll talk about Tennis Ball next, so I don't have to move him down my favorites. I still like him, okay? Should I talk about Tennis Ball next? He doesn't really need a lot of defending. He just, I don't know. I'm rambling. Like I said in the beginning, she had character derailment, but that's not inherently a bad thing. Book went off the rails because of something that at the moment she thought she was doing right by. And that's something I can admire about her.